Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Kevin Hunt and I'm one of the coaches here at Desire to Trade. I'll often get questions from people from different social media sources asking me what I've learned as a trader in the time I've been trading. It's a bit of a wide angle, that one, isn't it? But Etienne actually posed the question a few weeks ago now. What have I learned in the 10 years that I've been a day trader? What have I learned? And it got me thinking, and I thought, put this video together and just try and hit the key points. And listen, I'm not saying to you, you do this, you do that. This is what happened to me and the things that I've learned in those 10 years that I've been trading Forex. Something that's always at the forefront of my mind, and that is, I can remember back in the early days, I don't know if it was a video or if I was reading something, and the person who was putting the content together said that as a Forex trader or as a trader, you should trade without emotion. And of course, I'm sitting there thinking, right, stay focused, get rid of these emotional swings. Winning trade, great, don't worry about euphoria. Losing trade, terrible, but don't feel too bad about it. And trying to bring all of those emotions in check. Stop and think about that for a moment. Trade without emotions. If you are, you better check your pulse. We're human beings. We're experiencing emotions every second of every day. And that includes when we're asleep. You'll have a dream, and that's brought on by emotions. It will create emotions as well. You can't just suddenly switch off emotions. It doesn't work like that. But very early on, I realized I couldn't shut those emotions off. I couldn't stop them. What I needed to do was ensure that they didn't affect my trading. So any trade that I take, or I took from that point forward, it wasn't driven by an emotional reaction. It was driven by criteria and the method that I was trading. Emotions can't come into it, but don't say don't trade without emotions. There's times when I finish, if I've had a losing day or if I've made mistakes, I'll be kicking myself, and that's an emotional reaction. I'll never stop those emotions, but I just ensure that those emotions don't affect the way that I trade. Something else that came up when I sat down and thought about this was the time that I kind of decided whether I was going to be a technical trader or a fundamental trader. Now, coming into this, listen, there's a massive excitement. There's a massive excitement for me when I started, and I wanted to just absorb everything. I became this sponge, and I was looking at everything. I was reading every news event, anything at all that I could get my hands on regarding trading, I'd be looking at it. But after a while, I started to get a bit bored of the fundamentals, to be honest with you. I'm not one of those people who really enjoys sitting down, analysing news. So I started to focus more on the technical side, and I'm glad that I did. My day trading method was purely based on the technical side of things. I didn't need to know what was in the news. I didn't need to know, I'll tell a lie, I need to know if there's any red news events, because that can affect me as a day trader. But I didn't need to know what that red news was if I wasn't trading red news. So changing over from being a bit of everything, fundamental and technical, I changed over to technical and really focused in on that. I didn't need to know the fundamentals. However, you know, I thought when I started out that I'd be learning this one method, I'd be trading a certain way, and that would be that, and it would be the same for the rest of my days as a trader. But it's not the case, because fact is, I'm still a day trader. That is my predominant way of trading. Day trading and news trading, red news trading. However, since being invited along to Desire to Trade, I've had access to everything that they do, the different methods, the different strategies, and I've decided to trade stocks, something I've never done before. Now with that, I'm going to be needing to look at the fundamental side as well as the technical side. The two go hand in hand with that. Now, I'm not going to be using fundamentals to make decisions on the way that I'm trading. The fundamental side of it is purely for stock picks. I'm going to be using fundamentals to decide which stocks I'm interested in. Once I've chosen those stocks, then it'll be pure technical, working with the indicators and the method that comes from Desire to Trade. And so that's how I'm going to be doing that. So fundamentals to stock pick, technical method to actually trade whatever it is I'm working with. That led me on to the next point of thinking that once I learnt what I was doing, that would be it. I'd be in the same rut forevermore and continuing to do exactly the same thing day in, day out. But that's not the case. The markets are forever moving. We'll often see, for instance, as a day trader, Forex day trader, to start with, I was seeing that the London session was the dominant force. That was the one with the big moves. However, that eased off, and now it's the New York session that's it's got the bigger average daily ranges, and it's the driving force behind Forex trading. So in that instance, you do need to change. You can't think to yourself, okay, I'm going to learn this now and that's me done, finished. I needed to get rid of that blinkered view about adapting to the markets. The markets are moving all the time and I had to adapt alongside them. The first time I heard someone talking about trading and they mentioned KISS, I thought, what's he talking about? And then, of course, realising it means keep it simple, stupid. And that stands today. For me, it really does. My charts are very, very plain. There's not much on there at all. I only include the indicators I actually need. To start with, different story. Everything that was popping up, I was putting that on there. Yeah, give that a try. Let's try that one there. And you end up with just a mishmash of indicators, coloured bars, bells and whistles, alerts going off. And it can be really confusing. It can force you into making bad decisions as well, wrong decisions. And so I cleaned my charts up completely, just worked with clean charts and the few indicators, the minimal amount of indicators that I needed, that's what I started working with. And it was so much easier. It was so clear to me when I saw a setup in play, then I could actually get in there. It was so much easier to identify those setups. You'll see that on the desire to trade methods. Very, very clean charts, not much on there at all for you to actually have to monitor, and it just makes it so much easier. So for me, it was no more information overload. I keep things as simple as I possibly can, even to today. And it just makes things so much easier and much more precise when I'm looking for an entry. Day trading was once the be-all and end-all of trading for me, nothing else. And I was focused on that. And the way that I was taught, it was don't look at anything else, just stick with this. For me personally, that doesn't stand true. I like to have a few alternatives. I like to be able to look at some different ways of trading. And again, with desire to trade, I've managed to do that now, and I'm working with stock trading. Main reason for this is, okay, I still day trade and I still trade red news, but at the same time, I found that kind of encroached on some of my plans living here in Thailand. Listen, I've got this amazing life, this beautiful country, and I want to make the most of it. And so with day trading, I had to be in front of the charts at a certain time, and I had to sit there for a certain period of time to be able to do what I needed to do. Listen, don't get me wrong, it was fantastic, it was great, and it gave me a lot of freedom, but at the same time, you kind of get used to that, and then you're thinking, well, how can I improve on that? I'm kind of looking for a way to be able to continue trading and to free up even more time. So with the stock trading that I'm doing with Desire to Trade, I'm seeing that as an option to be able to do that. And like I say, don't get me wrong, I'll still be day trading without a doubt. It works, and I've been doing it for 10 years now. Where I'm starting to get involved in stock trading and looking at other options, maybe the set and forget, maybe the algorithmic trading at Desire to Trade. I might even move on to those a bit later on, but one step at a time. I don't want to overdo it, that's for sure. I suppose one of the biggest lessons that I took from becoming a successful day trader was I started to become stubborn, I became headstrong, and I'll be honest with you, looking at the person that I became, I didn't really like that person. So I guess humility, decency is something that's come out of this as well for me. So in the 10 years of trading, I've learned that humility is so important. It's really important to me just to be a decent person anyway, but you can lose that along the way. Once you start to become successful, very, very easy to become bolshy, and it's not a good thing. So that's something that really, it's added to my life completely, not just as a trader, but through trading. It's given me that aspect of life that however good I'm doing, however much money I'm making, doesn't really matter. It doesn't come above being a decent person. So that was a pretty important lesson for me. Something else that I learned in the 10 years that I've been a Forex trader was flexibility is very, very important. I remember reading somewhere, I can't quite remember who it was, but There was like these wise words that people throw out there sometimes. It was something like, be water, don't be the rigid teapot that the water goes in. Something along those lines anyway. But you can look it up. I might even look it up when I finish this. But that's so true. You need to move and flow like water when you're in the markets. And when you start out, it's quite difficult. You've got this set of rules in front of you. You're trying to stick with them. And sometimes that rigidity, it can make you make bad decisions. Sometimes you'll be thinking that you're right. That was another early lesson. You're not always right. Forex markets. The markets will strip you clean if you think you know more than they do. They just do whatever they want. Totally irrelevant of what you're thinking or what you think you know. And you have to be flexible. You have to move like water. You have to flow with the markets and whatever they're giving you. I might be sitting down doing my day trading. I've got my setups, I've got my trading plan ready, and I'm ready to go with something, and suddenly the markets just spin. What do? Do I carry on with my initial approach to the markets, my initial read? Of course I don't. I suddenly flip completely and then look for entries in the opposite direction, totally opposite to what I originally sat down and planned. And that is very important, that flexibility, being able to flow with the markets, because the markets are flowing every second that you're looking at them. So there you go, 10 years as a day trader in a nutshell. Obviously, there's a lot more surrounding it than that, but when I sat down and actually thought about it, these are the points that sprung to mind. These are the ones that really stood out when I was looking at myself and the way it's changed me, the way it's shaped me and the person that I've become from it. Thanks very much for watching. Please remember to hit subscribe, and if you can, leave a comment down below this video. I love hearing from you guys. Things that you're struggling with, things that you've learned, lessons that you've taken from being a trader. And I'll never stop learning. So reading those comments more often than not will be teaching me even more about what this whole game's about. And it fascinates me. So please, if you can, leave a comment, and I'll always get back to you and answer those. Thanks again, and I'll see you again soon.